was hungry to talk, hungry to say, hey, this is what I'm feeling, man. Like, but maybe the preconditionings, hey, you know, if you talk about your feelings, maybe you might be seen as sensitive.
Yeah.
So, you know, growing up in the 90s.
Yes.
You know, we had to harden up.
Yep.
It is what it is, right? Why am I drinking? And I never liked the taste of alcohol. Any alcohol. I never liked it. And I never understood how to drink socially. It was only to get to that mood. If I think of the taste, I'll want it straight away. I was always that guy where if I want to do something, I want it now. You know?
Yeah.
That's why I said 0 to 100, you know?
Yep.
That's when I started reflecting, why am I drinking? If I don't like it, if I don't like the taste, why am I drinking? You know? But I think a monk recently, well, my wife's cousin, who's a monk in Sri Lanka, he put it nicely. Because we had this conversation. I love, you know, obviously he's a spiritual man, and I was like, hey, I was interested in what made you become a monk, you know? He's just a human being. You know, people, you know what I'm trying to get at. But I'm just, once you know, you know.
Well, yep.
Right? So I was like, you know, I'm not into rituals. It's like, it's true, but rituals are there so the people who aren't aware can have some sort of guidance.
Okay, that makes sense. Getting them into a discipline or routine or way of doing things. Hey parents, just a heads up, this episode does have some swearing, letting you know just in case there's little ones around. Thanks, enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Victory Lion Podcast. Lion!
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
And now your host,
O.P. Jayasinghe.
Mr. Charith Elpitiya. Pleasure as always. Been too long.
Absolutely, man, absolutely.
How's life?
It's good. It's good. Yeah, good. Yeah, like it's been interesting so far, man.
Okay.
It's a bit weird with cameras and all, but yeah, look, it's been interesting is I think it's a polite way of saying journey.
Because it has been a journey, right?
Yeah, it definitely has, man, and it hasn't stopped.
Okay.
We continue, right? You know, life is a journey.
But I feel like even though these challenges, we'll call them challenges, stuff happens, but you learn, evolve, and you grow, and you've been getting better and better as a person, if I can objectively say that.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Absolutely. I mean, I've known you for over 30 years.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, we're first generation of immigrants?
Yeah.
So, if I go back to my childhood, so we came here as a family early 1992 to be exact.
Yep.
I think you were around the same time before that.
2 years before that, yep.
So, yeah, look, born in Sri Lanka, growing up there till about 7 years. You know, childhood memories was fantastic, man. Like having, playing around with cousins, you know. Yeah. This was like before technology and everything advanced Sri Lanka, or you know, the culture was still maintained, I think, from my perspective.
Yeah.
So I love the time growing up in Sri Lanka. You know, I remember the rice paddies. You know, we used to run around, things like that. So yeah, man. Like,
did you work out why your parents decided to immigrate here?
I think it's a common. I assume it's a common reason for everyone to have a better life.
Yeah.
So I believe our parents, our dads, knew each other since 70s.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
So, and yeah, they probably just wanted to maybe not just themselves, but provide their children better future. That's the whole idea, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we moved here. And yeah, man, it was a challenge as a child to adjust.
Did you speak any English at all when you migrated here?
Nah, my mom put us through like English classes.
Yeah.
It was hopeless, man. I don't remember.
We're here or in London?
No, before we came.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. So did I. It was 6 months. Yeah, it was a joke.
I don't even remember it was 6 months. Now I was just like, some words and things like that. But I don't think it helped.
Yeah, it didn't help me.
Yeah, I don't think it helped. And do you remember English language school?
Yep.
Yeah. So Noel Park?
Yeah, Noel Park, but I don't know if I went there. But yeah,
You didn't
continue.
go?
I can't remember.
I don't remember seeing you there.
I don't think I did.
Because obviously you came before me. So
Maybe a couple of years, but yeah.
anyway, so we end up going there because that's the whole route. Fresh off the boat or plane.
Yep.
So there was a lot of familiar faces from now. Like I remember, like there was a lot of people like that we know. I was there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in a way, there's Sri Lankan people there, but I didn't know who they were. So.
Okay. Even though back then we knew everyone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it got
exactly.
to the point where you go to Dandy Market and hey uncle, auntie.
That's true. Yeah. But like early days, like I know there's kids, right? They're just kids. I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
When I say it was in struggle, I think the struggle was a nice way of putting it. Not just culture. It was just difficult for me personally because I was a lot darker. So naturally I'm dark, but because I was one of those kids who was very active, always outside, right? So it was either cricket, running around, athletics, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So obviously I was more dark and complex. And in Sri Lanka, I didn't have an issue with that.
Yeah.
There was some, kids throw words, things like that, but I think that affected me from since I landed here.
So did you get that, negative feedback from everyone or Sri Lankans or?
Yeah, literally everyone. So family and friends, that was our families, right? We didn't have any relatives here, so that was our family, given default family, right? So,
looking back at it, they probably thought it was nothing, right? But it impacted
kids,
you.
Yeah, kids doesn't know. Right?
Yeah.
Kids only know from what they've been taught or what they heard, or do you know what I mean? So as a kid, I was very empathetic, right? Which I found interesting because I thought everyone was out there.
Yeah.
Empathetic, kind, and I was non-judgmental. If I have something and some other kid doesn't have it, I'll give it to them, Yeah. Even if I don't, if it's food or whatever, right? So yeah, it was interesting in that perspective, man. And yeah, look, it was tough because the people whom you can trust, they were just like, they'll put you down or put me down, outcast me, things like that. And I was like thinking, wow, what, I'm just a child, just want to play,
Yeah.
I get it, the white people here, they're not used to brown people as much back in those days.
Yeah.
Right? Especially early 90s. But, your own people. So I was just like, wow, it got to me, man.
It got to you.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't. I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it got to you. I honestly don't. And for everyone watching who know you, I don't think they know either.
No, I didn't say anything. I don't tell. I'm a very private person, man. I'll keep things to myself.
Yeah.
My dad was very strict, so I don't go out of the house too much. So I found ways to, I was always contemplating, thinking about things and, maybe overthinking sometimes.
Yeah.
It's possibly my nature to do so. Before.
And this does sadden me, to be honest.
I can tell.
Had this
I see your reaction.
You, and I didn't realize. I mean,
the people we know. So growing up.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what? I can just play ignorant and go, I didn't play any part, but I'm sure I did back then. Unknowingly or knowingly.
Of course.
I wouldn't lie.
Kids,
kids are kids, right? Yeah. But knowing what I know now and the development that we've gone through, it's unacceptable, right?
It is. It's sad. It is sad. A child has to look. Children are all innocent. They're born innocent.
Yeah.
And if we talk about science, neuroscience has proven that up until the age of 7, kids, they don't know who they are. Their character, mannerisms, personality, they know none of that, right? So, you've heard the saying that child is like an open sponge. Absorb everything. So it's been proven by neuroscience that, your subconscious is open, fully active.
Yeah.
So everything you hear, you see, you do, it's absorbed, and she wouldn't just react, right? So it's not a child's fault.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, looking back at it, we can be philosophical and be like, hey, it's karma, right?
Yeah.
That was the journey I needed to be on.
Yep.
Right? So I don't regret anything. I wouldn't change anything, right? And I think if anyone says they want to change something, it's only because they haven't reflected on how that brought them to this point in time.
That's amazing.
Right? So...
but I am happy that we're getting a chance to reflect on this now.
Sure.
And everyone else who's watching can learn from it for, to maybe help with our kids' generation and the next generation. And that's how it should be, right? We take these lessons, move it forward, and we improve.
Of course.
And, my whole philosophy is just to improve as a collective, as a human species, so all of our consciousness evolves and elevates through.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, great idea what you're doing. I loved it. You've already started several segments with several people. Fantastic idea what you're doing, and the opportunity you're providing people to speak about who they are and their journey and share that. So if I was to go back to what we were talking about with racism and things like that, look, I'll be honest with you, what people call racism now is like fraction of what it was back in the day. I'm sure there's a lot of things we can say about that. Like the music back in the day was way better than music now. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's all relative, right?
It's all relative, yeah.
But at the same time, it was direct in your face. It wasn't just kids, wasn't just friends, it was teachers, lecturers. I mean, you name it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was always like in that defense mode. But it got to a stage where I was like, I had enough. That innocent, empathetic child, I had to toughen up because I was just tired of taking it,
Yeah.
So you would have seen me progress. I became this person for maybe being angry or violent, right? You grew up with me. You've probably seen those things. You would have heard things. It was a defense mechanism, so I don't feel hurt. So I was under the idea of I get you before you get me.
Wow.
Right? The slightest look you do, I'm like, that guy's trying to, whether it's right or wrong, I'm just like pre-tuned to react, So that was the reason why, throughout my teenage years, I mean, it affected me in sports. I couldn't continue in sports because it got to me,
Yes.
And my parents, they weren't really encouraging us to go forward towards sports or anything. It was more like studies, right?
Yeah.
They gave the backing as much as they could, but I had to I was like, no, I'm done, taking stuff, from coaches or whatnot, even parents, man. So I was like, and yeah, man, it got to me. So I was just like, nah, I'm not putting up this shit, So, and I became a very reactive person.
Okay.
Right. So, and I'm sure people that were around me, close to me, probably assumed, like, hey, this guy's very, very angry or always related, probably can relate me to violent things, I'm not getting into specifics right now.
Yeah. I personally didn't know any of those violent stories, so maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But
I'm a very diplomatic person.
Okay.
Right? It would take a lot for me to be angry.
Yeah.
Those days.
Okay.
It wouldn't be like, suddenly, But if I felt threatened, like especially racism, I'll react straight away.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that was my childhood.
That was the childhood. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, just circling back to that one, if there's any lessons or teachings that you can pass little Charith, if you could do that, what would they be? Like, because you've evolved, as I said, so much, right?
Well,
and this is not just my observation. I'll share a little story with you. When you were in Lanka, I get a call from my parents, and they go, oh, it's bumped into Charith.
2023?
Yeah. Bumped into Charith.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little while ago.
Yeah.
And my mom goes, he's different. I'm going, I know. He's evolved. He's read
I love your
books.
parents, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, your parents are the best.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
And I had a chat with my mom about how you've developed as a person, and that's how
Right.
you are where you are.
Right.
In terms of your mental consciousness.
Sure.
So as I said, other people are observing this, but continue. So what is there a lesson? Is there anything that you can do to empower little Charith, if you could? And it's a retrospective question, I know.
Well, I think as a child, it's, you got to gain confidence from somewhere. I think I was lacking in that. I don't want to blame parents.
Yeah.
But, you are your environment. So I think I was lacking in that confidence to be me initially. Right? And I'm a very private person as well, since I was a child. And I think those things affected me the most. The lacking of confidence and not talking too much, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, the impact of racism definitely made me go backwards. Right?
Okay.
And look, I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So, I mean, at the time I would have been like, hey, I wish this and that. People would see me for who I am, not just the superficiality, right?
Okay.
But then again, children are children. Even if adults are like that, it's just who they are.
Yeah.
Maybe they can't change who they are. I mean, if we go down the path of, we want to be spiritual, so that's their life path in this journey.
Yeah.
That's what they need to experience. That's what they need to exert. I wouldn't change anything.
Okay, that's good, man.
Yeah,
that's good. So obviously, you have reflected on this so much to the point that you are comfortable with it.
It's interesting when you say reflect. It was never a reflect. Over time, I think. So I changed schools. I don't know if you know. So I was in Noel Park Secondary.
Yep.
And then I changed schools in year 10 to Salesian College. So it was like primary school, racism, blah, 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 and then high school up until year 10.
Yeah.
And everyone knew me, right? In high school, everyone's comfortable. Not much racism going on, then bang, change schools. So I was back to zero.
Right.
And it was a boys' school.
Okay.
You can imagine, right?
Yeah.
So it was just like, here we go again. But it was not something new to me. Right. So I was just like, I think I wanted to be respectful to my parents. I didn't want to get in trouble. I was never in trouble. I was never a trouble child.
Yeah.
I was always trying to be respectful to parents, to adults.
Yeah.
Whoever senior to me. If you're 1 year old to me, you're older to me, right? I was a very respectful man.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I never got in trouble in school. Things like that. And even with changing schools, I thought about, parents paying a lot of money. At the time, it was a lot of money, $3,000, early 1990s.
That's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Is it a private school?
Yeah, semi-private.
Semi-private, yeah.
It is private, but it's not like a top of the top.
I get what you mean. Like, it's like a grammar school kind of thing.
Yeah. Below that, but different standards, man. So it was like back to zero again, But this time I was more mature. I was hardened up and...
What year was this?
Year 10.
Year 10. Okay, so the last 3 years that you were in this school.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just quiet, man. Like, I didn't react. And everyone was at it, this guy, I was in the room, everyone was just at it, man,
Damn.
Everyone, even the teacher, man. So I was just like, I was quiet. I didn't understand philosophy then, but I realized not to feed the fire, right? That's what I was doing. I wasn't reacting. So over time, like the first 6 months, most of the people, man, just quieting down. They're like, this guy just takes his shit. He just takes. He's not you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't understand that I was applying philosophy at the time.
Okay.
But I was just not giving into it.
Yeah.
You know? And over time, I mean, first 6 months, most people just stopped saying stuff.
And it just fizzled away.
Yeah, well, supposedly I had to be a bit more enforcing
Yep.
later on because...
But the majority of it, just saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And they became really good friends of mine too.
There you go.
Right?
Once they got to know the real Charith, yeah?
And I wasn't reacting.
Yeah, okay.
They got over it.
Yeah.
But yeah, towards year 11, I was just like, I'm just going to focus on the studies, whatever. But there were a couple of people, who were still at it. And I threatened them, violently because I had enough, come on, like we need 12 now,
Yeah.
like, get over it. So I threatened them violently, while in mass.
Okay.
And yeah, they stopped. So,
Yep.
I mean, coming from Normal Park Secondary, I had friends who were, I suppose, different kinds of friends. We all it was like a Normal Park itself, where we grew up. You grew up in Normal Park?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
No, you did.
Did.
Yeah, because I remember we used to visit each other's houses and stuff. So Normal Park, for me, from we all some of my old friends get together, we discuss, it's like a refugee camp. You know what I mean? Everyone from a war-torn countries just comes there and, But it was the best growing up there. We knew everyone, right?
Everyone, yeah.
Every single street, we knew someone.
Yeah, we knew someone.
And I enjoyed that, man, growing up, because we used to, there wasn't much internet. There was no internet. So we used to just visit houses randomly.
Yeah.
Just talk and got to a teenager, we do want to go places. Do you remember those days?
Yeah. I remember.
Nah, I'm done. I'm going to parents' house, dinners and stuff. But it was nice. It was fun, man, Yeah, so that was Salesian and yeah, man. So
after that?
I think Salesian actually brought out the best of me.
All right. So it was a good experience.
It was actually a good experience.
Okay. So the change, do you still keep in touch with friends from
Salesian?
Yeah, no, not Salesian.
Noble Park.
Noble Park.
Interestingly, yes. So the people that I actually keep in contact with are from Noble Park. Actually from primary school.
There you go. Okay.
Right? And some of them fizzled away and,
it happens.
Different journeys.
Yeah.
But I think we change a lot. Like my parents, they'll buy a house, 2 years they'll sell it, and then my dad, don't ask. He would just make up his mind and just sell a house and move somewhere else, right?
Okay.
I don't know. So, so we moved to St. Albans from, I don't know.
Did you?
Yeah.
Jeez, okay.
I don't know if you know,
No, I didn't know that.
Straight out, 2022.
That's on the other side.
So,
Okay,
2002, sorry, yeah. We moved to St. Albans for 2 years because it's closer to the city.
Yeah.
For me to go to uni and things like that. I lost all the contacts.
Okay.
Because there's no Facebook those days.
There's
None of
nothing,
it, right?
Yep.
And I didn't bother keeping numbers, nothing. And by the time we moved back again, it was hard to establish those connections again.
Yeah.
So I left it as it is. But at the same time, I was in a committed relationship since I was 17, those days. So I was just in my own cocoon, like a bubble.
Yeah.
Focus on that.
Yep.
And I was, one thing we also connect is on music, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was born into a musical family, man. So my grandpa, I remember him playing the mandolin, the accordion,
Yeah.
It's not trained. He was literally just ear trained, So
Amazing, yeah.
So he would just jam it out, and then my dad, obviously, he's a talented musician on his own, but he's too humble to
play in a group or band.
Yeah, he's too humble to push himself forward,
Yeah.
And
your dad can sing as well, right?
Yeah.
He can.
But he's a very talented musician, man. He play any instrument. So,
okay.
And so I was born into music, and I was singing at a young age, stayed, little shows and events. And so I got into music and obviously learned music, piano, and then We started a band when we were 15,
Mm-hmm.
and that continued after high school. But it actually progressed. I learned a lot. Musically, I grew quickly,
Yeah.
right? If that makes sense. But at the same time, I wasn't serious about it, right? I wasn't serious. It was just like, it's just one of
Just a
those
hobby.
things. Yeah,
Just
it's
a
like,
hobby. Yeah.
I have music friends, I have sports friends, I have family friends. It was like different groups for me.
Yeah.
But it was definitely an interesting journey, man. So learned a lot. A lot of my social anxiety went away with playing bands because I was right at the front,
Yeah.
I mean, I was singing by myself at an early age. I remember we had like all these events that we have, like our dads associated with.
Mm-hmm.
So even with that, and you acting those ones, right?
Yeah. Those days.
And I sucked at acting, so I was like a robot, So
But you kept the bass going all this time, right? Like it's been 20.
I never learned
25?
it. It was actually just picked up.
You just picked it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had some help, obviously, with my dad and
Yeah.
someone else giving me the basics, but
Is that still your favorite instrument?
I'm comfortable with it because I've been playing for a long time. I stopped playing bands 2008.
Okay.
So before that, every weekend was gone, man. Sundays full day rehearsals and Saturdays show. So
Such a time. I don't know how. Like I know we know some of the boys who do it. I don't know where they get the time. Like it's there.
When you're younger, you don't have much.
You don't have.
to do, right?
That's true. I mean, that's why I was DJing, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's hard to maintain a relationship. you know?
Yeah.
So I got to a point where I didn't like the band lifestyle.
Okay.
Um,
Just on the hours or the mental health or the lifestyle.
the lifestyle in the sense like alcohol was involved,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously no one pushes you, forces you to do anything.
Yeah.
But it's like that. It's like a natural thing for you to progress into.
So is that? I mean,
We're drinking heavy.
okay.
I'll put it this way.
After a rehearsal kind of thing, and that was just normal.
Even during rehearsals, man.
Ah.
Right? Got to a point. I'm thinking back, maybe I drank because of personal reasons,
Yeah.
relationships, those reasons. But it got to a point I was just drinking, man. Like, if I'll give you an example, if I'm playing a show, the first 10 songs I'm playing, I have no idea like what I'm playing. It would purely be me automatically running. Right?
Really?
Yeah. I'll be like blurred out. But because obviously I practice,
Yeah.
I'll just let it take over. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So I was like, this is not good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I get it. It's just muscle.
But I
memory.
enjoyed it. Yeah, muscle memory. So, but I enjoyed it, man. So it got to a point where, we used to back up, Sri Lankan artists, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Several artists throughout that time, and one of the last ones I backed up, the director, whoever came down, actually pointed out, hey, you got a future in music, so why don't you pursue it?
He said this to
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Okay.
So, and that at the time I didn't care. I was like, it's just a hobby, right?
Yeah.
Thinking back, I actually didn't make any mistakes during rehearsals or the show, right? So he was like, this guy's good. Like he pointed out, you should pursue it. You should take it further.
Do it. Yeah.
But for me, I was like, it's just a hobby,
Mm.
But at the same time, it was something that was keeping me going because I stopped playing sports,
Yeah.
cricket and things like that.
And mentally, you can feel like, even though the music had the negative connotations of obviously the alcohol and
Yeah.
nightlife and so forth, it still had the
Yeah,
fulfillment.
correct.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
was part of my life, man.
It was part of it.
Yeah. There's a path for you, You should take it seriously. And
Yeah.
I was just like, nah, I'm good, And there was some offers that came. One of my uncles is well known in the Wada Baila
Okay.
scene in Sri Lanka.
Yep.
So he was like, come with us on a 6-month tour, Europe and Asia and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you go?
No.
Okay.
So they came here and I backed them up.
Yeah.
But singing is my thing. I picked up the bass because there was no one else to play the bass guitar. So I realized it was affecting my actual passion. You know, the bass guitar was actually blocking me from my actual passion, which was singing.
Singing, okay.
Right? So with bass guitar, it's a bit difficult to sing while you're playing. Technically, because if you look at a guitar, you hold a pattern and you strum it.
Yep.
Right? But with guitar, you're constantly moving the fingers. And like you're actually multitasking.
Yep.
Right? And for you to multitask and sing, it's not easy.
It's not easy, yeah.
Right?
Okay.
But you can do it.
Yep.
You can do it out of practice.
Yep.
You can't be like a lead singer, even though Sting has done it. So you know, I saw myself stepping back, you know, from my passion of singing.
Yeah.
So that was probably another reason why I stepped away from bands, man.
So this was after, you know, school life. This is early 20s, mid 20s?
Exactly, like 21,
yeah.
22, 23.
Okay.
But yeah, so I decided to step away from music for many reasons.
All right.
Stopped.
Yeah.
I didn't touch a guitar, music, nothing, since 2008.
Okay.
To 2012.
Right.
Yeah. So, and yeah, it's like I said, I went to a cocoon, my own bubble, to focus on whatever work, you know, career or the relationship. And that relationship had a big impact on me. I don't know if you remember who I'm talking about.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, in the sense, you know, 17, straight out of high school.
Yep.
To 2012, it's like, I didn't know myself.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And you resorted to saying alcohol and...
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So you lost direction basically, right?
Yeah, but I stopped all that in 2008.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Stopped going out, stopped doing everything. I focused purely on that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But around that time, at the time, you know, the racism thing wasn't in my head.
It wasn't?
No.
Okay.
Because, as I said, since school finished, school itself brought out I gained more confidence.
Yeah.
Going into the boys' school, sorry. So that brought out a lot of confidence in me. And I used to joke around a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, this is comfortable, you know, like that was my way of like breaking the ice, or
yeah,
you know what I mean? If it's a new environment, that's how I get comfortable with people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that helped a lot. And then obviously having odd jobs, you know, while going to uni, things like that, that helped change my character and perspective of, hey, people are not racist. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
People are good, you know, people are normal.
Yeah.
You know, so it helped me reconcile those thoughts, you know, that brought me back to when I was a child.
Right.
But that relationship triggered those emotions again.
Okay.
Because I mean, even throughout teenage to mid-20s, the people I was close to, they realized that was my weak point, you know, racism.
Yeah.
They did use that. They kept using that, you know, as a joke.
As a joke. Yep.
Right. But for me, it was personal because I suffered.
Of course.
You know,
big time, right?
Especially Sri Lankans have this thing, you know,
yeah,
the looks, you know, whether you're fat, you know, whatever, they'll point it out as a joke.
Yeah.
But for me, it was personal because it actually did impact me. It wasn't just a joke for me.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, you know, it was continuing.
Okay.
Even though it wasn't a lot, but it was still continuing, but still with the people that were very close to me.
Okay.
Even in that relationship, you know. So that affected me deep, you know, from 2008 to 2012. Especially given that I was in a cocoon.
And when do you feel that it changed? What was the turning point? Is this when Alan Watts comes into the picture? Did I get the author right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Alan Watts, one of my second favorite philosopher
Was the
after
first?
the Buddha.
Okay. Yep.
Do you know?
Yeah.
The wise one.
Yeah.
So yes and no. So it was a tough period because I was trying to hold on to something that was already broken. Purely because of my actions initially. At the beginning, I was careless. I was young, no excuses. I was out, obviously playing music and going out, people starts talking, rumors, all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're a girl, from her perspective, she'll believe those things,
Yeah.
So I was trying to hold on to things, trying to make it work for at least the last 5 years of that relationship. And then came to a point where, I didn't end it, she did, but it was hard for me to let go, because I didn't know anyone. I let go of sports, I let go of music, friends, everyone. So I was like, shit, I'm on my own.
Yeah, and you're right. I think, and you were asking before, that's when we probably didn't connect as much, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, we dropped off. We
did, yeah.
Can't remember. 2005, 2006, around there.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going out anywhere. I was just playing music stuff, man.
Yeah.
So I didn't have time to go out anywhere.
So when did you start bouncing back?
So I was just on a journey, man. So I started getting back into drinking again.
Okay.
Around 2012.
Yep.
Trying to rekindle relationships with friends. But I was never, even as a child, I was never in a group. I was always like by myself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I never fitted into like a stereotype. I never fit into like, you match with these people. And no one really got close to me. I never really had a best friend.
Yeah.
So I was that person that would just hang around. I would seem close, but I'm not close. Whether by their choice or my choice.
Yeah.
But it's always a give and take, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I preferred my privacy, man. Like my alone time. At the time, it was weird. I was like, I'm alone by myself. Not like I'm just by myself in the corner, shivering anything. But it was just like I liked my time alone.
Okay.
So I was just going into drinking, going to hang around with old friends, trying to fit into a group again.
Yep.
Because I lost all contacts, right? Stopped.
Yeah.
Came to a point where, like, I realized I was doing the same thing every week. So this is when I was 28 probably, and I was just like, started thinking a lot more in depth. Why am I doing things? Probably about religion, and maybe even contemplating on some philosophical thoughts, But I didn't know they were philosophical because I never read into it.
Yep.
I always thought religion was like a law, you don't question it.
Mm-hmm.
This is just my way of...
I mean, I think that's most people who have been brought up in some sort of religion. They think it is the law.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't question
it. You don't question it.
You just fucking do it.
Yeah. Which I don't agree with, by the way. I think you should question it. Anyway.
I mean, that's one of the fundamental things the Buddha said,
Yeah.
Question everything.
Question everything, yeah.
Even what he said, right? So, so I was starting to get interested in, what is this about? Right?
Yep.
What is this about? Like, I never understood a career. People talk about careers, this and that. I never fucking understood a career.
Yeah.
I thought there was something wrong with me, man. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, why can't I be like a normal person? Why can't I just stick to a job? I had like fucking 30, 40 jobs at the time, man. Like, obviously contracting.
Yeah.
But I seem to get really bored after 3 months.
Okay.
I'll get super bored, man. I'm like, fuck, I'm bored, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, what's wrong with me, right? Maybe I have ADHD. I fucking don't know, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, why can't I be like everyone else? Then my parents are like, oh, look at that puta and do it, they're doing stuff. They have a house.
Yeah.
They're getting married. I'm like, that's great for them, you know.
Yeah.
It's not me. And don't get me wrong, I worked in like banks since I was 19, man. You know, I had the opportunities to grow,
To climb the
but I never
corporate
took it
ladder.
seriously,
Yeah.
right? I never took it seriously. It was weird.
But do you know why? Because you didn't want to fit into the box?
Not intentionally,
Okay.
right? It was just like I get bored easily,
Yep.
and I never understood how people took their job seriously. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, is it just me, or do I find it really weird that these people like taking something fake really seriously?
Yeah, I get it. I get it. But do you feel like that's just a means to the end kind of thing? So that they're doing this so they can achieve that? And I'm just putting it out there. What do you think?
I think it comes with that, right? Obviously, if you have a job, you have money, you can do things.
You can do this. Yeah.
But my thing was, I think I was looking at it a bit more in depth. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we taking it seriously? It was just, I wasn't judging anyone else. I was questioning myself, why can't I take it seriously?
Okay.
Right? Why aren't I taking it seriously?
So it's massive reflection, right?
Yes,
Self-reflection.
exactly.
Okay.
Not intentionally either.
Yep.
So I was just observing everyone else. I'm like, they're fucking serious.
And this is 2010, 2011, 12?
I mean, from like, since school finished.
All right.
Right? I was like, I don't understand what a job is.
Yeah.
I never understand what the fuck a career is. Right?
Yeah.
I thought that was so weird. I'm like, obviously there's the hierarchy, you know, the structure. You go to primary school, grade 1, grade 2, then you go to high school, you know what I mean? And then uni, you finish that, get a job, get a car, get a house, get a wife, get a child. That's the whole...
That's what you're supposed to do, right? Yeah.
That's the conditioning, right? So I was like, why the fuck can't I do it, right?
Yeah.
And it was puzzling me, and I tried my best to fit in. I tried my best to like, no, I need to do this. I try to force myself. Take seriously.
Yeah.
It helped. Like, I had issues with turning up on time, things like that. I just didn't care, you know? It wasn't me being slack. It was just like, I was just on my own time.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I forced myself to change, you know, I don't know if you remember, like we used to text, we have a text language.
The text language.
Text language, you know, like instead of
LOL or no.
Yeah, instead of spelling you spell
you.
Yeah. Why are you instead of just go you?
Yeah.
So I intentionally changed those habits.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I thought, hey, no, I need to change. Because I realized when I was sending emails, I was sending in text language.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if I'm not thinking, if I'm not focused, I'm like, no, I need to change. So there are a lot of things I changed. I saw other people doing. I'm like, hey, those are good qualities I can take. You know, especially turning up on time. If you're doing a job, understand it, absorb it. You know, like ask questions, and then I don't know how you're gonna get serious about it, but at least make it I'd see it as a game. You know, like finish it. You know, and make sure it's done properly. You know. So it was puzzling for me to understand what the fuck a career was. I changed jobs a lot. I contracted. So I studied engineering, but I never worked.
Okay.
I lost the passion because I was just delaying it, failing it, and then, you know, suspending it, going to doing work. So I lost that passion.
Okay.
Initially, I was, you know, I wanted to be an engineer, contribute to mankind, to better the mankind.
Yep.
But personally, I think telecommunication was what I was doing. But in the end, it took a while for me to get to that point.
Yep.
I was just like computer science and then computer systems. You know, I was just everywhere. I realized I hated programming. So, what's the next step to not do programming? You know, so I was like, all right, telecommunication. So, and from that, I realized like the technology we're using, it affects our health. Right, X-rays, MRIs, so those are things I was studying, right? Mobile signals, you know, satellites. So it kind of changed my mind about if I'm really contributing to mankind, if I'm hurting mankind.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
by you being in that industry and actively promoting the product.
Correct.
Okay.
Right? Because if you know we talked about, if you don't, once you find out something, it's hard for you to,
It's hard.
right?
It is, yep.
You can't just be like, oh, whatever.
Yeah. I know it too well.
We were speaking about, you becoming vegan.
Yeah.
How you came about, things like that.
Yeah.
So it was hard for me to switch off and be like, oh, no, I'm actually doing good for mankind. And that was one of the things I was like, I don't think I want to work in engineering. Do you know? So I don't know if it was an excuse, but at the same time, I lost that passion. I lost that reason why I was actually, I even studied in the first place. It's only because, I'll be honest with you, I loved maths since I was in primary school. I never told people, right? Because you get called a nerd. You get like, oh, fuck, this guy's a nerd,
Yeah.
I just stay quiet, but I love maths, sports. Those are my two things, and music, of course.
Yeah.
And then what's next best thing for maths is physics. Less theory and maths.
Yeah.
So I was like, done. I hated reading when I was younger. Maybe I had ADHD, I don't know. But I hated reading. I only read one book in high school. But because of VC.
Yep.
Or two books, I can't remember.
I can relate. I can relate. Yeah.
Those are the only two books I read.
I hide the movie. That's how lazy I was to read in school. But since then it's changed.
Yeah.
But in school, I know. I get it.
I was like, shit, maybe I'm the weird one, and I always take shortcuts.
Yeah.
Like, not because I'm lazy. I don't know, maybe I was always being creative, but I always put myself down saying, oh, you're not doing the right way, like, even when I was reading or, I find shortcuts to get around it, absorb the information.
Yep.
But there's always that doubt in my mind, I'm not doing the right way. I'm not reading it word by word, Like, later on, I realized that's how our fucking minds work.
Yeah.
We pick up on the first letter, last letter.
That's it.
And we put the actual words together in our head.
Yeah. Yep.
But I was like, nah, that's not how you do it. You got to read each letter.
Otherwise, you're cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
No, and
weird.
you're right. When you learn how to read books properly,
Correct.
it's not. You're not reading word by word or sentence by sentence. Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I'm lazy, but I was getting the job done. And I remember, like, in uni, there was some lecturer, he was like, I know how you work this out, this calculation, but you got the right answer. I was like, hey, your guess is good as mine, I've done something and it worked out, but it was just like that. But I think later on I recognized that, I realized that I love patterns, man.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I see things in patterns, right? So even music, it's all patterns to me. Like, I fucking hate theory.
Yep.
I hate music theory. Even reading back in the day when I was younger, I hated it. But it was maths, even music, like the patterns, holding a chord, piano.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what registered in my mind.
Okay.
Right? And I didn't understand. That's why I thought I'm taking too many shortcuts.
Yeah,
but I wasn't.
Well, you got one of those brains where you see, because you're strong on the music side.
Correct.
You've got that side of your brain is just it makes perfect sense that you can see patterns.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, I didn't realize at the time.
Yeah.
I was putting myself down on him, and what's wrong with you? You can't just take shortcuts.
Yeah.
But I realized, like, I mean, everything is a pattern around us, right? But look at a tree. You know it's a tree because it's got a trunk, then it's got the branches, then leaves and flowers.
Yep.
You know a tree from anywhere. You go anywhere around the world, that's a tree.
That's a tree.
Right? But that's a pattern.
Yes.
Siri's talking to me. Siri's be listening to me. That's scary, man.
That's very
and I accepted it. I'm like, wow, like, that's a tool that I had.
Okay.
I've been using it, utilizing it for all this time, but I never used it. I saw it as a important thing,
Yeah.
So I think.
And you said you've been sort of reflecting for, period of after school and for a good decade, right?
Yes.
And then what was the sort of turning point? Yeah.
Turning point was me literally going out for drinks from Wednesday to Sunday after work. I was working in the city.
Okay.
Every week.
Okay. As in like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I think after 28, it's hard for you to continue every day. So you need
Okay.
like a
Couple of
day to
days.
recover, and then, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I think 28 is fairly young still.
It is. Yep.
And being in the city, bad idea, especially if you want to be distracted. Right? So I was constantly going out after work and not going to work the next day.
Really?
But I'm drunk, right? Even on a Wednesday night. So I call my friend, I'm like, hey man, you want to go out? Yeah, let's go out. We'll only have a couple of drinks. We'll have a chat. You know this person too, it's an old friend.
Don't name names.
Yeah,
I think. We don't want to get into any trouble.
So
Yeah.
it was funny. We used to play footsies, like, during the week. We're like, hey man, you doing something? No plans, at the moment. But in the day, we both want to like
do something.
Yeah, but we don't say it.
Yeah.
We wait for the other person to say it. Then like, let's go out, So on a Wednesday, we're like, just a couple of drinks, after work, cocktail, whatever. Turns out to be till 4 a.m.
Really?
Right? And that went on for like 2 years, man. So after 2012.
So this is where a lot of the money was going as well, right?
I don't really care.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't really care, man. Because I was still caught up in my past.
Okay.
Right? But I didn't know that. So I always wanted to be distracted. So that was the point. I realized for 2 years, I was like, obviously, that's why I changed jobs, because I was getting fined.
Was there a mentor or someone that you could look up to at the time that could just give you,
No.
There was no guidance person.
I don't know if you remember, like, we never used to communicate.
No, yeah, it's not a...
Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of this podcast,
Yeah.
if you will, is to have this communication, open communication.
exactly.
Men, women, let's talk. Let's
Do
talk
you
this
remember,
through.
like, growing up?
No,
we
it
never
was
used to talk.
no. It's not normal. It wasn't normal back
Like, hey
then.
man, how are you? And that's
Yeah,
it.
that's
you
it.
know?
Yeah, and
when you're going out,
Yeah.
that's it.
I hate small talk. It's
Yeah.
just nah. I want to know, are you happy? Like, I want to know the deep and meaningful.
Dude, I was hungry to talk.
Yeah.
All right? I was hungry to say, hey, this is what I'm feeling, man. Like, but maybe the preconditionings, hey, if you talk about your feelings, maybe you might be seen as sensitive.
Yeah.
So, growing up in the 90s.
Yes.
We had to harden up.
Yep.
It is what it is, right? So, I just realized, like, I was stopped at a DUI.
So this was obviously after a night of drinking. You're driving back home.
Yeah.
Get pulled over. Can you recall that story?
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear. So it's an interesting story. One of my close friends, I assume since childhood, we did touch on this earlier. I won't name names. There was a couple of times, I was abandoned. You make plans, you're like, oh man, let's do this, we'll go out together. The deal was stay in the city till 4 a.m.
Okay.
because there's no cops after.
Right. Okay.
This is like 2012, 13. Now I don't know. do you know? And it worked. So since I was 18, we used to do that, and it worked.
Wow. All right. Okay.
And to make it worse, one of my Salesian friends used to work at the Oakley, where the car sales are on Princess Highway, Oakley.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? There's like a bar, like a hotel bar there.
That's not. Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Do you
Go
remember?
on.
So he used to work there.
Okay.
So we used to stop. We used to get free drinks. So that made it worse. So there was a pit stop there, and then we probably buy drinks because it's cheap as well. So I was risking, man. So I was driving since I was probably 19. Sometimes when I was drunk.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So till 30.
Okay.
So that's when my friend, we had an understanding. We go to the city together. We won't leave till 4 a.m. And then his fiance turned up at 12. He left with her. And I was like,
You're leaving me,
there
man.
goes your plan.
Yeah.
Hey, man, what happened to our plan? What am I going to do now? So I was really annoyed.
Okay.
Right? It wasn't the first time this happened with
Yep.
that person. There's been other situations where I felt, you know, I thought we're friends, like,
Yeah.
where's that, friendship? Where's that backup, And so I was so annoyed. I got a souvlaki because I knew how to eat something to make sure.
It stayed down. Yep, as much as I
Right.
can. So it was just you and him at the time, right? On this particular night. And
Yeah, and then
he
it was-
left
Yeah,
and you continued drinking, or you got the
No, I
souvlaki
went
and
home.
started driving? Okay.
I knew if I go home now, it's done for me. It was at 12 at night.
Okay.
So the plan is still 4 in the morning.
Oh, okay. All right.
What am I going to do in the
I'm with
city
you.
by myself?
I'm with you. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
So I was like, nah, I'm going to go home. I've nothing to do. So I was eating the souvlaki while I was driving. I've never taken this route before. From Flinders Street to M1.
Yep.
I've never taken that route before, right? That day, I decided to take that route.
Yeah. There's always cops around St Kilda Road and yeah.
I don't know. That day, I just decided to take that route.
Okay.
And then straight away, I turned in.
Yep. I know where they are. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that bend.
Yeah, that
You
bend.
can't see them.
Yeah, that bend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, but leading up to that, there were several times where I was about to be caught and I was let off. So I had warnings.
Yeah.
I had warnings, but obviously you think you're invincible when you're drunk, right?
Hmm.
Because your long-term memory, the thought process, that's sabotage because
Yeah.
you only focus on now.
And especially when you're in your 20s,
Yeah,
it's
you don't care.
You don't care. You
Yeah.
think you're, like you said, invincible. Yeah.
But that's the thing about alcohol, right? So it affects your long-term focus. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's been scientifically proven as well. So you just the decision-making part of your brain is shut off.
Yep. You
know?
can't make
The
rational
Yeah,
decisions.
exactly. So and I was pulled over and it beeped. That's the first time in my life it beeped because I was never caught. And it was a young cop, and he looked around after he beeped. I was like, why is he looking around, right?
Did you
So-
know? Did you know by the
I
time
know,
of it?
man.
You knew.
I knew, because we had like, right. So at that time, my drinking habit was really bad. So by the time, for example, a normal person would be drinking one drink, I would have 3 already.
Okay.
And 2 shots.
Okay.
So I was literally drinking to be in that mood.
I never knew this side. Anyway, continue. Okay.
I'm always extreme, man.
Yeah.
So I'm always extreme. See them, mellow, soft, So that's something I had to figure out along this journey as well. That balance, what that is.
Yeah.
So the guy pulled me into the van and said, hey, you blew 3 times over the limit,
Jeez.
and he's like, if you just eaten that souvlaki, waited for half an hour, maybe you would have been okay.
Really?
So he's been nice to me, right?
He was being
Yeah.
nasty. Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe when he beeped, he looked around to see if anyone saw or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
right? But that was the turning point.
Yeah. Okay.
That was the turning point because I went home and I was still like, I was 6 months.
So
suspended.
how did you get home? Must have been a
Yeah,
taxi or something.
I
Yeah.
can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember, man.
And were you living with your parents at this
Yeah.
time? Oh, okay.
They don't know.
They don't know. Well, they might know now. They might watch this. Well, I don't know if they're gonna. Yeah. Anyway.
It is what it is, man. Even then I was like, it's just 6 months. But I felt like my legs were cut off, not having a license, not having the drive for 6 months. I had to go to court for that, of course. First time in my life I had to go to court. I was like, I felt like a criminal, And they assigned me to an AA meeting. Is it called AA? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, man, this is deep, Even then I'm like, it's just 6 months, I'll just get through it. But it was very surreal experience, not having to drive, First time since I was 18,
Yeah. So, but you stuck to it, as in, like, you didn't.
No, I had no choice.
Yeah, you didn't just go, nah, stuff and I'm going to drive.
I had to, yeah.
Okay.
I had to play by the rules, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously I got caught doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I'm just gonna
not drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then the AA meeting, it was actually the AA meeting that was a turning point.
Really?
This is very interesting. What's sad is the AA meetings, they were discussing about drinking, man. I was like, isn't the whole point of it to make sure you don't drink? Do you know?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, what's your poison? I'm like, yeah, I used to drink scotch. Do you know? They were just laughing. I was like,
what's going on?
I thought this is serious. You know,
Yeah.
like, the whole point of it is so that you can understand the consequences of what you're doing, you know? I was like, this is weird. Like, they were okay with the fact that they're talking about drinking what they drink and just laughing about it, right?
Yeah.
And they played a video. In the video, it was literally a cyclist being run over by a
drunk driver.
Drug infused.
Okay.
You know, ecstasy or something like that.
Yep.
I was like, oh, you know, whatever.
But did you ever have these fears of like, what if I crash into another car, if I run over someone, if I, you know?
No. So that's where I'm about to get to, right?
Okay.
So in that video, the cyclist that got run over was my school teacher.
Oh.
And I remember in year 12, we used to like, since Salesian, we used to muck around, oh, he's going to get run over by a car one day.
Because he used to ride to school.
Yeah.
And it actually happened.
Yeah. So it happened in year 12.
Dude.
And he was the same guy on the video.
Okay.
I was like, you know what I mean? I was like, it can't be a coincidence. Is it a coincidence? You know, like,
yeah, yeah.
That hit me. I was like, wow. Because I had that connection with him, right?
Yeah.
And it did affect me at the time, you know, in school. He was a nice guy. He was a very educated person and a very, very nice teacher, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We used to just muck around, you know, say all this stuff to him.
Yeah.
But that effect, I was like, wow, like that girl, she actually killed him because she was, you know, high, alcohol, and this poor guy, which is riding, you know, for exercise, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because at the time, that on the day that happened, we were told in school, I was late for school, and I was like, oh, everyone was like silent, you know, in year 12. I was like, this is weird. Being the clown I was at the time, I was like, whoa, what happened? Who died? You know, I turned up, and everyone was like, oh, Mr. Ronaldo. And I was like, oh shit.
Oh.
You know, I was like, oh shit, it actually happened. What we were saying all the time.
Yeah.
So that was the turning point, seeing my old teacher.
Yeah. What year was this? Do you remember?
2014, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 14.
Yep.
And then that's when I started contemplating, right? I was like, wow, like I felt okay to drive. You know, like, I don't know if you heard, like, people used to say, oh, when you're drunk, you drive better.
Yeah.
You've heard that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard. I mean, I know DJs who can't DJ unless they're high. Like, they're like, I can't get high until I take a few puffs. I'm going, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right. So I was like, oh, you know, I was driving better. You know, I knew what I was doing. The ego, right?
Yeah.
You know, and as I was reflecting, I was like, no, I wasn't driving properly, right? Like, clearly I was not okay. I could have killed someone.
Mm.
Forget about me. If I'm dying, I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah.
But if it affects someone else,
That's not cool.
I can't live with that.
You can't.
Do you know?
Yeah.
And
But my question is, didn't that realization happen before? Do you get what I mean?
No.
Like,
no,
no.
because I was still caught up in the whole hype, you know, like, not hype, but at the time I didn't realize I was still caught up in my past relationships, achievements that I didn't have or missed, you know, opportunities I missed, you know, career-wise, growth-wise, whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah. So all of that external factors wasn't just coming through, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I never reflect on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started reflecting. I was like, no, this is wrong. You know, 3 times over limit is not normal.
Yeah.
You know,
0.15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously I had to go through the process of getting my license back and going to the courts, etc. So that was eye-awakening, you know, because the judge, you know, asked me, you know, directly, and I never faced a judge before, you know. I was like stuttering and shaky, you know. I told myself I'm never doing this again, you know.
Yeah.
Never want to see a court again. And yeah, so that's when I started realizing, like, why am I drinking? And I never liked the taste of alcohol, any alcohol.
Yeah.
I never liked it, and I never understood how to drink socially. It was only to get to that mood.
But I hear this so often as well. Like, you know, everyone who drinks, they says, I hate the taste of beer.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. If I think of the taste, I'll vomit straight away.
It's weird,
At the
right?
time, yeah.
So people want the end result, which is,
But I wanted it quick. I wanted instant. I was always that guy where if I want to do something, I want it now.
now.
You know?
Yeah.
That's why I said 0 to 100, you know?
Yep.
So, yeah, that's when I started reflecting. Why am I drinking? If I don't like it, if I don't like the taste, why am I drinking? You know? So I kept asking, you know? If I want to save money, why am I spending money?
Yep.
You know, obviously, like $500, $800 a week is...
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
Right? But when you're in that mood, man, like, you just want to have fun, you know? And yeah, so I just kept asking. I came to the conclusion, I'm like, I think I'm drinking for the wrong reason, you know? But at the same time, that's when I came across animals,
Okay.
right? When I was questioning those things, I didn't come to a conclusion, but I was questioning.
And it appeared, as in, like, you know, what do they say? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh, you know, listen. One of my friends trying to get me involved in it for a while, but I wasn't ready. I was like, yeah, whatever, you know, go for walks, man, whatever, you know, I'll go for walks, you know.
Do you remember the name of the book?
It wasn't a book; it was a video. So it was literally a 3-minute clip of like a 3-hour lecture.
Okay.
Right. So it was about letting the mind settle, right, or calming the mind. And it was literally just describing, you know, you can't force your mind to do something. You just gotta let it happen. So as an example, you know, like a muddy water, you know, you can't, you know, the more you try to even it out, the more messy it gets, right?
Absolutely, yep.
You just gotta let it.
You gotta let it settle.
Let it be.
That's a good analogy.
Right?
Yeah.
And in that moment, I don't know what happened, man. The thoughts that I had in my head, gone.
Okay.
And I didn't know what was happening. I had similar experiences when I was younger, after going to a pool and then sauna and then steam room, where there was no thought in the mind, right? I was just present. That was it.
So was this a gradual thing? Do you feel it was like bam?
Instant.
Okay.
It was instant. But I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
Right? Because
you don't know. Yeah, at the time. Yep.
I had no reference.
Yep.
And the whole day, I was like, I didn't sleep. I was with my friend as well. There was no one talking. There was no chatter. No one.
Yep. No negative
No
or
monkey
positive
mind.
or,
Nothing.
no monkey mind. Okay.
Right. Obviously,
I get
philosophical
what you mean.
thought, monkey mind. But at the time, I was like, "What the hell's going on? Like, why am I talking to myself?" You know, I don't hear voices. Not that maybe it's just me, but and I was like, "This is strange. This is not normal." You know, and I realized in that point, at that moment, sorry, anything I read, anything I saw, I absorbed it like 100%. I can see the words, like not just reading, but I can actually feel the words.
Okay.
Right, that's my only way of interpreting how I was, you know, experiencing at the time. If I see something, I actually feel it.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So that's when obviously I realized, hey, I'm drinking because of my past. You know, things, and quote by Alan Watts that always stuck with me is you can't a boat cannot sail if the load is too heavy.
Yep.
Right?
That's a good one. Yep.
You got to unload to move forward.
Yep.
And so I was like, it's true.
It's true. Yeah.
Right? I've consumed so much that I was stuck in that time frame.
Yep.
You know, I was trying to, at the time I had a lot of issues, conflicts with the friends I was around as well.
Mm-hmm.
There was, especially in 2014, there was a lot of things that was happening. So there's always issues. I was like, why is it always happening to me?
Yeah.
You know, there's always some conflicts, you know. I'm like, I just want to relax. I just want to have fun, you know. Why is, argument, something always comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously at the time I was like, it's happening to me, but I realize now it's happening for me.
Yeah.
Right? So everything was like moving me away from things. Something was moving me away from things, right? What I was used to or holding on to. And then that's when I, obviously Alan Watts is, he's heavily into Zen Buddhism.
Okay.
Which is where the Buddhism is linked to me. Because I was born into Buddhism as
What's
yourself.
the difference between, say, the Theravada Buddhism to Zen? Would you know? Because I've heard this is...
Yeah. Look, I never really dived into it.
Yeah.
But it's similar analogies.
Okay.
Right? I never dived into it. I never took an interest, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I was just fascinated by, I used to go for walks or runs after that experience. 3-hour lectures, man. I used to go for walks or runs, just listening.
Yep.
I was that tuned in, I was that focused. But yeah, that's when I started reading things, and I was just interested. I'm fascinated, right? And then obviously Buddhism was right in my face.
Yep.
We grew up in Buddhism, right? So I started looking into the Dhammapada, obviously English version, as well as I thought about all these other religions, just out of fascination.
Yeah.
Right? But what resonated with me was the fundamentals of Buddhism, limiting self-suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Right? These are things we can control.
Yep.
We can't control the weather, right?
No.
So, but I think that's why I was drawn to Buddhism, because of these things that we can control. So the self.
Yep.
Right? Understanding the self is a fundamental that will allow you to understand others, even your surroundings. Right? So you're good, you're bad, you're evil, everything.
Yep.
But you got to be honest without judging yourself, putting yourself down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So that led me to deeply focusing on Buddhism, but fundamentals, and obviously philosophy aspect of it, and spirituality. But I was never into the whole ritual side of things.
Yeah.
So, it never appealed to me.
It's interesting that you say that, because, we grew up with a lot of rituals
correct.
Growing up.
Yeah.
And I call that the fluffy stuff, when it comes to religion. I've personally stepped away from that, but I love the philosophy. The philosophy
Absolutely.
makes sense to me.
Absolutely.
Rituals, I'm like, why are we doing this? Right? What's the benefit of it? And I'm sure there are benefits to it.
Yeah.
But I'd rather stick to the core fundamentals.
Yeah. But I think a monk recently, my wife's cousin, who's a monk in Sri Lanka,
Okay.
he put it nicely. Because we had this conversation. I love,
Yeah.
obviously he's a spiritual man, and I was like, hey, I was interested. I'm like, what made you become a monk, He's just a human being.
Mm-hmm.
People, what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah,
but, I'm just, once you know, you know.
Well, yep.
Right? So I was like, I'm not into rituals. He's like, it's true, but rituals are there so the people who aren't aware, can have some sort of guidance.
Okay, that makes sense. Getting them into a discipline or routine or way of doing things.
So before that, I was like, it's just rituals, man,
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard about that monkey lab concept where...
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep.
So the social experimental culture,
Mm-hmm.
they had like 10, 12 monkeys. They had a ladder, and every time a monkey would climb up, get shot with water.
Yep.
And then obviously each monkey tried that, and they get shot with water. All of them get shot with water, and then they replace each monkey. The new one try to attempt the same, And then obviously they get beaten up trying to climb the ladder, and they're all new monkeys, and then no one knows why, but they don't want to go up the ladder.
They don't want to go up the
Right?
ladder. Yep.
So it's that thing, right, where rituals, it's cultural, social, whatever, right, religion,
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's why I thought, I'm not really into the whole ritual thing, but that makes sense. But I think from what you said as well, you understand, there's a deeper meaning behind it. So, right? I think from my days of researching religion, debates, things like that, there was an intellectual Islamic lecturer, right? He said it perfectly. He said it's never the text that's the issue, it's the interpreter.
Okay.
Right? It's how we interpret it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So obviously, a word can be meant in different ways. It can be seen in different ways,
Yeah.
So a green to me could be a different color to you.
Yeah, true.
Right? So I was like, oh, that's fascinating, it's true. And it's how you interpret it. And it depends on your experiences, your mindset, how you absorb it.
Yeah.
And
that's true about I can't remember it's the green or the blue. They've got that issue in Japan. There's no distinction. Yeah, I can't remember which color.
That's true. Yeah, I remember that as well. But yeah, it's interesting you brought that up too. So that's why they have rituals.
Yeah. So this is in 2014. You went down this path fairly heavily, right? Because
I went deep.
Yeah, I mean, I got snippets of it, but I saw you going through this journey.
I wasn't sharing with anyone.
Yeah.
But I felt alone because there wasn't anyone who's gone down that path.
Yeah.
Or that I can reach out to. There was a friend of mine as a guidance, but I realized he hasn't gone down that path either.
Mm-hmm.
It was on the surface level.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how deep I went. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Until maybe a couple of years ago, I reflected back going, oh, I went deep. You know? To the point where I was absorbing others' energies, right? My parents, whoever I was coming across, I can see the suffering in their eyes, right? And I can feel it. And it was too much for me because those days I was excited. I was, hey, try this, I was just excited to share things, as you can understand.
Yeah.
Once you see the beauty of, philosophy and spirituality, you just want to share.
Share, yep.
And this is awesome, it's right in our faces.
Yeah.
We're looking for external, all these, other shortcuts and influences and stuff, but it's right there.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to go that far.
What was the reaction you got from people?
Obviously, people thought I was crazy, I was weird. By the time I loved it because that differentiated me from them.
Yep.
And obviously their version of me from the past.
Yep.
Right? So I saw that as a positive. I was like, oh, thank you. Okay. They're like, why is this guy saying thank you when I'm calling him crazy, So, but it was a philosophical one-upmanship I was playing at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like my own game, not to put anyone down.
And by this time you'd given up drinking and did you feel like your life had turned around at that point? In terms of like, it was still, I guess what I'm asking is, was it overnight? And you did say it was an overnight mind shift, but the journey, like how long does this journey start?
Within 6 months.
Okay.
So within that first point of watching the video to 6 months, I changed drastically. So I was heavily working out, I was dieting at the time. And I got to the best shape of my life, like muscle-wise, mass-wise, right?
Okay.
But I was in pain because I had a lot of issues and injuries and stuff. And I thought, I'm working out to attract the females, opposite sex, but that's an insecurity of mine, So I stopped. That. In 2 weeks, I ran a marathon, half marathon, like purely just mental.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was in pain. Don't get me wrong.
Wait, physical pain or mental?
Physical pain. But I was so in tune to myself, I can block the pain.
Okay.
Right, ankle injury and there's a lot of injuries. I'm not
Where
saying
did these injuries come from?
From training for 2 weeks to run the half marathon.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I was like, let's get it done, So
Yeah.
my mindset completely shifted, and I couldn't be around the people that I was with before,
Yeah.
friends. Though I didn't judge anyone for drinking or behaving that,
Mm-hmm.
but I realized there was a pattern. Everyone was caught in the past.
Yeah.
So their best versions of themselves was in the past.
Okay.
I don't know if you can recall, when you used to catch up for drinks, things like that. You're like, hey, back in the day, it's always back in the day.
It was back in the day, the good times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the same story with those people.
Yeah.
Not to put them down, that's their life, that's their journey. They're not ready to be, come out of that, So, but I couldn't deal with that. I couldn't keep repeating back in the day stories,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to, I was somewhat intellectual conversations, but at the same time, it was about life.
Yeah. And that's what filled your cup, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was an instant process. Instantly, I was drawn into Buddhism. Instantly, I was absorbing the fundamentals. Understanding who I was, limiting my own suffering, and obviously understanding suffering.
Yeah.
Right. And those are the three things I actually focused on.
Right. And it got to
Nothing
the point
else.
that you had developed it to a certain level that you felt like you needed to share this.
Yes, but I was just communicating normally as, if you come across
Yeah.
me on a train, someone will be like, hey, guess what?
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a structured
Okay.
thing I wanted to share. But it got to a point where I actually wanted to get away from this because, well, reflecting on it now, at the time I didn't realize, but it was definitely a spiritual and a conscious awakening.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't know who I was.
Okay.
Right. I had no recollection of who I was. It was scary because I thought I was losing my mind.
Prior to DUI?
No, after.
No, I'm saying when you were reflecting back,
Yeah.
you couldn't sort of recollect why do you the old Charith.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
I was like, who is that guy? Like,
Yeah.
And I don't. It's hard to describe, but I don't remember the thinking patterns. I couldn't recall it. The character, the mannerisms, I couldn't recall it. So I thought I was losing my mind. Obviously, now I'm like, okay, that's a spiritual conscious awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no monkey mind, so
Yeah.
I thought I'm not gonna remember anything because there's no one talking to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, how my memory's gone,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was scary because there's no one there for me to, converse with.
Yeah.
There was that friend which helped, but I don't think he understood the depth of where I went.
Okay.
Right, and so I wanted to leave. It was hard for me to integrate back into this, whatever this is, because I checked out. I was gone.
Okay.
Right, and yeah, so I wanted to leave. I wanted to leave this environment. I didn't know where, but I just wanted to get away because all I saw was suffering. I felt it, and it was affecting me.
Because you're taking on other people's suffering via empathy.
At the same time, I realized I couldn't help anyone.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
No matter what I say, no matter what I do, I can't help anyone.
Why couldn't you help anyone?
Because they're not ready.
Okay.
They were the Matrix, right?
Yep.
They're comfortable being in the Matrix.
Yep. I get it.
Right?
Yep.
So
they're suffering so much that they don't know that they're suffering. Yeah. Okay.
And they're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Right?
I heard this great story a while ago where this guy visits a guy, a friend of his in a cottage somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And they're having a chat in the veranda area, and there's a dog sitting there, and the dog's like, just making all these noises. The guy goes, mate, what's wrong with your dog?
Yeah.
He goes, oh, he's sitting on a nail. He goes, why doesn't he just get up
Yeah.
and just go sleep somewhere else? It's not hurting enough.
Yeah, right.
It's hurting enough to just and make noises occasionally, but it's not hurting enough to get up and do something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where most people are at these days.
Or they believe there's no solution. That's their destiny. That's their life.
Yep. They're destitute to that. Yep.
Or you call it karma,
Mm-hmm.
right? So especially my parents, my siblings, close friends, I was like, they're suffering. Like, I felt it.
Okay.
I think that's where my sensitivity of absorbing others' energy heightened.
Yep.
So I wanted to disappear. I wanted not die.
I shouldn't laugh, but yeah.
I wanted to get away from this, whatever this is,
Yep.
this game, because I couldn't go back to it. So, but I didn't want to be a monk. I didn't want to.
That was a.
That was my deciding factor. I had to go path. I had to decide a path. That deep. I went that deep.
You went that deep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't just like, oh, I'm sick of life. Just want to, get some good karma now. It wasn't that. It was like, I'm done with this. Like,
Okay.
I don't remember who I was. I don't remember my thinking patterns. I don't remember, like, I don't recall anything. So I was thinking I need to get away, but I want to be around nature, because at the time, like, I wanted to be around like I was dragged into nature. Like, I always wanted to be around trees, nature. I loved it. Like, I used to just touch the trees and leaves and stuff, and it feels so good. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to be literally absorb nature and be with nature.
Yep.
So that was my thinking pattern. I just want to get away from this, go to hang out in the bush somewhere, like, I don't know where, here, Sri Lanka, Asia, wherever, right? So I was just 2 weeks, I was just like lost. So, I didn't get out of the house. I didn't see the friend that was keeping in contact with me. And then basically, I wanted to go, just disappear, not die, but just disappear. Yeah, and that friend came back and he's like, "What are you doing, man? You can't just, lock yourself up, not do anything." But he has his own issues. But I realized he stopped me from going on that path.
Okay.
The spiritual or whatever, the path I wanted to, he stopped me. Whether reflecting on it now, it could be whether he thought he was losing a friend.
Okay.
Or whether he felt responsible for putting me on that path, even though that was my choice.
Yeah.
He only showed me a video. So reflecting on it now, it's I believe it's a path that was on my previous birth, but it reignited in that moment.
Okay.
Watching that video.
So there's no regrets, because we keep going back. Was there any regrets? Was there any regrets? But there wasn't any regrets, and you're happy with the path that you ended up ultimately going down.
It's interesting. I'm still. I realized it was a hard decision to come back to, not go down that path. But the deciding factor was that the Buddha also needed people's help to survive, to eat, right? So he wasn't completely out of the system. Let's be honest.
Yep.
Even Jesus had disciples and whatnot. And even if you wanted to go and join a monk monastery, you have to be involved in some sort of system. They have a hierarchy. They have, I don't know, council, whatever. They make decisions.
Yes. Yep.
So you can't be 100%.
It's
right?
solo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you go and live in a forest somewhere, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Which is, I didn't think about it, but maybe I couldn't have handled it. Maybe I'll come back into this. But I didn't know. I thought maybe it could be a long-term thing, maybe it could be a short-term thing.
Yeah.
So that was my deciding factor. You still need to survive. You still need people's help. Things like that. And made the decision to integrate what I've learned back into this. Right? But I knew it was a tough challenge.
Yeah.
Like, it was a very tough challenge, especially in the beginning, even till last year, to be honest. Because I went back to a default where I was a child again, because I had no memory of my thought patterns, like conditionings, superficiality, desires, everything was gone. Like music, my desire for music, gone. So, that was part of my life since I was a child.
Yeah.
Listen to music, even, that eagerness, entertainment, watching things, movies, everything was gone.
Okay.
So I had no desire. It wasn't intentional. Like,
it just
not there.
Just not there. So how did you sort of loop this around and integrate into, we're living in a society now. We have to have money.
Yeah.
We have to have a place to live. We have to eat. We have to interact with other people. We have to have modern technologies like Siri and whatnot. How did you sort of reconcile all of these externalities?
Finding a partner,
Okay.
marrying. So these are desires. I had no desire.
But they've grounded you. But I felt like you were grounded before that.
I was grounded, but because I made the choice to come back into this, the norm, play the game of life,
Okay.
right? I believe I forced myself to have desires. If I want, I can switch it off, even now.
Okay.
Right? So, end of the day, none of these things matter to me. Even like having a TV, I only got it like a couple of months ago. I've never had a TV for 10 years.
Oh, serious? There you go.
Because I had no interest, especially knowing, media.
Yeah.
What we learned through movies as children, TV shows. It's not that positive.
Yeah.
Right? So, in a way, I made myself have desires. No regrets, once again. But it was a tough journey to integrating back into this, because my default was love, empathy, compassion.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
That was my default. No matter who I saw, no matter where I was, that was me, 100%. Right.
Would you still feel the same way if you're interacting with those who hurt you when you were younger? Do you feel? Could you still have those positive emotions if you were speaking to a friend, but who still poked you and
Of course. Yeah, look, as I said, look, I defaulted back to preconditioning, which is love, empathy, and compassion. So the last 10 years, the journey was about me balancing those, the preconditionings I had as a child, whether it's offering too much love, giving too much empathy, too much compassion, and not thinking about my own, giving it back to me.
Okay.
So that was the journey for the last 10 years. Finding that balance.
Yeah.
That helped me to understand what this is about. But at the same time, I'm still applying. I live by the Buddhist fundamentals, which is limiting self-suffering, which can be seen as a selfish act, because it's always about the self.
Yeah, it's always about the self.
Right?
Yeah.
The person who's untrained eyes, it could be seen as negative.
Yeah. No, it's not. This is the fundamentals of, I guess, Buddhism.
Correct.
We don't care if you convert in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
There's no, that's not that I call myself.
There's no such thing.
There's no such thing.
Yeah.
There's no such thing.
There's no event.
Yeah.
You just go by.
Yep. You are.
Oh, now you're Buddhist.
Yep. You be you,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be me. Yeah. It's very much that philosophy.
I never really tried to explain how I limit myself suffering, because it can come across very selfish. Even so, having spiritually awakened, maintaining a relationship was difficult as well.
Okay.
Right? Because I'm about limiting myself suffering.
Yeah.
Right? And because I see and hear things clearly, it's difficult for other persons to recognize or understand those things.
Especially when you're communicating out something,
Yeah.
they have to be able to receive that message, right?
And also being honest and authentic. So honesty for me is number one. Self-honesty. Right? Even if I have to somewhat scenario, work or wherever, you can't be always 100%. honest.
Yeah.
For example, I'd be like working in finance, accounting. So I'd be like, I'll jokingly say, I haven't worked on this account for 3 months. Do you know? Right?
Yeah.
Like it's built in me to be honest.
Yeah.
I can't deviate from that. So even as a joke, sarcastically, I will say you the truth. I'll tell you the truth. Obviously, people at the time, this guy's just joking around.
Yeah.
I'm not, no, I haven't done, But it's not that. So that's one main thing I've maintained in the last 10 years, which is honesty.
Okay.
And I think that's one thing that is important as a human being to develop.
Yeah, I agree.
Self-honesty.
I agree.
Right?
Yep.
But it also is difficult for others to understand. Which is fine, it's a journey, it's there, whatever.
Yeah, everyone has to go on their own journey, and everyone's finding their own demons. And like we said before, the student has to be ready.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't force anyone. But someone like me, it's very difficult for a partner. I realized. I'm very analytical since I was young, anyway. But now, because of my self-honesty and fundamentals of applying fundamentals of Buddhism, literally 24 hours a day. Obviously, it's default to me now. I don't have to think about it. It can be difficult.
Okay.
But one thing for sure is, if you ask me something, I'll tell you now, 10 years' time, it's always going to be the same answer. Which is also limiting my self-suffering, because I don't have to think about a different answer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I agree. Well, what do they say? If you don't lie, you never have to remember anything.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I was like, I'm sick of lying, just tired of lying. Why can't we just tell the truth?
Yeah.
So it's one thing I maintained. I made sure, self-honesty. And we touched on this briefly before we started recording, but last year was 10-year anniversary for me from my spiritual awakening. Right? So July also. Interestingly, since December 2023, so for about 5 years prior to that, I stopped meditating, spiritual practices, because I was kind of tired of the whole spiritual aspect. I wanted to experience a normal, right? What that was, because I don't know, I forgot.
You want to go back to normality.
Yeah.
Have some sort of norm.
Exactly, and it was difficult for me, like work-wise, to be that mindset.
Yeah.
I'll be very honest. Very difficult. Because I was seeing things. I was absorbing energies. I can see when someone's fake. I can see when someone's lying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I can't tell them that.
You can't, yeah.
They'll be like, this guy's crazy, And I can tell, slightest shift in energy, I can tell.
Okay.
This guy's got issues. Is it with me? I don't know. What's the problem? But I don't say anything.
Yeah.
Right? So I lost my train of thought.
Now you said you've come back to some sort of normality, and you've started getting, I guess, attachments or whatever,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was down that path, right?
I think so. It was partner and things like that. Dude, I lost. We'll start from somewhere else then.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, so I always. The other thing, I think you can relate to this as well. Once you're in this journey of a different mindset, you appreciate like different versions of opinions, right?
Absolutely.
So you don't just take it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, what about on the other side?
Yeah.
What about on this side? And then you're like, maybe it's this.
Yeah.
So that's something that's hard for others to grasp as well.
And that's gold.
Right.
And people are going to miss that. And yeah, that is really gold. Continue, please.
So, yeah, I knew you can relate to that. So it's interesting, man. So it's an interesting journey. But when I brought up the whole anniversary thing, 10 years. So even then, I resigned my job 2000. December 2023, I needed to change. I was there for a while and the management changed. I was like, I need to change, right? So I resigned and I started meditating again. After 5 years of not doing anything, I started to see I was losing who I was, right?
Yep.
The mental focus, the how do I say? The strength, like applying philosophy or even spirituality, on everyday life. I was losing it. I was starting to have social anxiety again, and I was quiet too much when I should be speaking. I was letting others behave the way they want towards me.
Yep.
But I was always applying love, compassion, and empathy, 100%.
Yep.
Right? Because end of the day, I don't want them to get hurt. And in turn, I was being happy. Right? Which is weird in the sense, end of the day, whatever you do, it's always to make you happy.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yep. It is a selfish act anyway. Yeah. Yep.
Even giving I have this analogy that I always use. Even when we give to beggars, charity.
Yeah.
It's a selfish act.
It is a selfish act.
Right?
Yeah.
And people lose their minds when I say this.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm going to be a selfish act.
Yeah.
Like my mom or whoever,
Yeah.
right? I recently had a conversation with a relative and the guy was like, no, it's not a selfish act, I'm like, yes, but it's not. But it is.
It is. Yeah.
Because you're making yourself happy.
That's right.
Thought of
That's
giving.
right. That's
you
right.
know? There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But it's a selfish act.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. The end party does benefit, but you also benefit either via being happiness or merit or whatever.
I'll put it another way where some people might get triggered, especially those Buddhist fanatics, right? Not trying to be judgmental, but it is a judgmental, whatever. I am being judgmental. But even the Buddha was being selfish because he left his newborn child. Because his analogy was, if I stay here, this will be my anchor to this suffering.
Yeah.
Right? So he's like, no, I need to figure out what the hell's in my head. Right? And he left.
Yeah.
It was a selfish act.
Yeah.
Selfish act to discover who he was, whatever the questions he had. Obviously became unselfish later on.
Yeah.
Because he had something to give back.
Mm-hmm.
But initially it's a selfish act.
Yeah.
Right?
It is you're right. It will trigger people, but it is what it is.
Correct. And we can go down the path, the Buddha, whether he existed or not, I don't know. These are all like stories. Right? But that's not the main thing.
Yeah. Let's
not deviate from the superficialness of whatever, What did he say? What can we take from it? How can we apply it to our life? And how can we be happy?
Yeah.
Ultimately. Right?
Exactly.
So that's why I prefer the fundamentals to everything else.
Okay.
Let's keep it simple. What can I control? 3 or 4 things. That's it.
What, if you don't mind me asking, what are those 3 or 4 things that you fundamentally value?
So for the last 10 years, I've been practicing limiting my self-suffering.
Okay.
All right. Wherever I can. Sometimes I'll give in because, I don't know, out of love, whatever you want to call it, out of compassion, I was like, all right, fine. I know it's going to affect me later on.
Yeah.
But I'll be okay.
Yeah.
I can make up my mind. I can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's there. It's ingrained into me now.
Okay.
Knowing the self. So initially it was understanding self. I know myself now.
Okay.
Right? So because I know myself, it's really easy for me to understand others.
Good
It
one.
might not be 100%, but it's 99%.
Okay.
Right? And that gives me an indication whether I can be compassionate to someone, empathetic, whether, adjust the levels of how much, and obviously whether I should interact with them or not, if they can affect me in suffering long term or in short term.
Yep.
So I can adjust to that. It comes back to limiting self-suffering.
Yep.
Right? And also understanding suffering. So I understood what suffering is. So suffering has different levels. It could be me pinching you know, I'm getting pinched. That's suffering. Oh, no, I'm in pain. Like the story you told about the dog.
Yeah.
Right? That's suffering.
It is suffering. Yep.
Right? And also, then it could be like the extreme.
Mm-hmm.
You know, physical rape, murder. That's the extreme version of suffering.
Yeah.
But end of the day, it's all suffering.
It's all suffering. Yeah.
But that's what also liberated me as well, in the sense that suffering, because we all experience it in many forms, I'm not alone. Right? Everyone experiences it.
True.
So the whole notion or the concept of, you know, you're just another person wearing a different mask. You know, we're all the same.
Yeah,
and that's a profound, I think, wording that I got from Buddhism. You know, that we're all suffering. You know, we shouldn't be. It's not a negative thing. Suffering.
Yeah, it is life.
It liberates us.
It is. Yeah, true.
Right. You're not just alone. There are many people going through different suffering. So don't just be like, hey, it's all about me. No,
other people
everyone
are suffering
goes
too.
through it.
Everyone's suffering, and you know, my thing that I like to say is everyone's fighting their own demons.
Exactly.
Right? You're fighting yours, and other people are fighting theirs, but you can't see it sometimes. It's hidden behind a facade of happiness.
Yeah.
But internally they're in pain, or behind closed doors they're in pain. So now where are we today?
So I want to touch on 2024, because after I think a year of back practicing meditation, you know, morning and night, I felt like I wanted to. It was a natural process. It wasn't like I was forcing myself. I was like, you know, I have some time. I need to get back into it. I want to get back into it. And July last year also, I had this natural urge to meditate longer. It was natural, purely natural. I was like, okay. Because I'm so in tune to myself that I recognize these changes or these voices or thoughts. So I was like, okay, let's see where this is going.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not an easy concept to understand for many, you know, because you gotta trust yourself. Right. You gotta believe in yourself. You gotta trust yourself. You know, the subconscious, the gut feelings, all that, right?
Yeah. I believe in all of that. Yep.
Right. So there's many, I'm sure you can relate to, there's many experiences where you're like, oh, I knew that was gonna happen, but I didn't take action. Right. But that's when understanding self comes into play. Right? So so I had this natural urge to meditate. I didn't want to eat.
Okay.
I just didn't want to eat. I was like, okay, I don't want to eat. You know? So I meditated. And the first night I meditated, normally I look at the time myself, 30 minutes segments, like an hour and a half straight. I didn't even know. I opened my eyes and I was like, it's an hour and a half, do you know?
That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And normally I'll tell myself I need to wake up, you know? Not wake up, but open my eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Know? But this time it was natural. It was so natural. I was like, oh, it's been an hour and a half. That's interesting, you know? All right. And I closed my eyes again.
Yeah.
Gone. Right? And then I repeated that step again in the morning.
What type of meditation?
I don't do any fancy meditations.
Yeah.
Very basic, very simple. I pay attention to my breathing, which is what we're taught. Right? So if I'm distracted, I'll go back to my breath.
Yep.
The noises, whatever, I'll go back to my breath.
Yep.
Do you know?
Yep.
Coming in, going out. Coming in, going out. That's it.
Okay. Yep.
Very simple. But this time, I think second night, I did something different. I'm sure you can relate to what I'm saying. I played a tuning fork of 432 hertz.
Okay.
Which is being somewhat proven to healing factor, balancing factor, and also 528 hertz and 936 hertz.
Okay.
Right? Literally pretty much one after another, and they're all like half an hour to 1 hour segments.
All right.
Right. So I was constantly meditating.
Okay.
Throughout that night, second night. Right. But this time I was listening to the tuning forks. No music, no nothing, it's just ting, that's it. But I went deep this time. It wasn't intentional, it wasn't something I wanted to do. It was a natural calling. And I asked myself, am I dead? Like, it was as if it was real. I wasn't dreaming, and it was interesting because I have lower back pain, sporting injury since I was a child. And it came to my mind. I'm like, oh, I can feel the pain. It was really bad. Like it's bad. I can't sit still, right? And this time I was meditating for like longer than an hour. So, and the thought came to mind, I'm in pain, but at the same time, in my mind, I went to the pain. Where's the pain? I went to it, and then disappeared.
Okay.
Right? So I was like, oh, it's interesting. Pain's not there anymore, And then I went back into the focus.
Yep.
And that's when I was like, am I dead? Like, it felt real. Like, I felt like I died.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I died. I was like,
what's going on?
Yeah. The question was, am I dead? Obviously, I'm gone deep. I don't know where I am. It's just, inside. And then I saw a future of me, my future. The future I always wanted. Desired future I created in the last 10 years. So I would see myself successful, running a business, having children, having a happy family. I was so like happy, I vividly saw it like as if it's real.
Okay.
Right? It wasn't a dream.
Yep. In your mind's eye, it was done. Yeah.
And I was on the floor meditating.
Okay.
Right. Before that I used to meditate on the bed, just legs crossed or even like legs on the floor, whatever's comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And that was like a profound experience for me, right? I was like, wow, that was interesting. What was that about? Why did I have that experience of I felt I was dead? But I think I should go back one step before that. So the friend that was around me during the time I experienced a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
Initially, I had a natural calling to confront something. Draw a borderline. Say, whatever insecurities he has, that shouldn't be reflected on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I absorbed for 10 years, and I was very compassionate, empathetic towards you the last 10 years, but it needs to stop, because obviously you can definitely understand what insecurities are. You know what it is, but you need to solve it on your own.
Yep.
Right. Can't help you if you don't want to be helped. Because like you and I used to have hours of conversations about philosophy, spirituality with this person. It's as if it's like hypocritical or contradictory. So it's like saying, I'm a murderer, but hey, it's okay. It's like,
Yeah.
but why don't you do
the philosophy, action? Why aren't you practicing it?
And the issue. Yeah. The insecurity. The issue.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you applying it?
Yeah.
Why aren't you rectifying it?
Yep.
But instead, apply, put it on me.
Yeah.
Or take it out of me.
It's a common thing, unfortunately. So, people can have a beautiful CV.
Mm.
And I've got this credential, I studied this, blah, blah, blah. But when they go to do the work, they can't do the work because it's all academic theory.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah. So I had a natural urge to reconcile that. I think reflecting on it after, I realized it's one of those things that was holding me back. That relationship was holding me back from being my authentic self. Right?
Yep.
So once I did that, that's when I had the natural urge to meditate.
Okay.
He just called me to meditate.
I got it. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Once I'd done that.
So
I had to let that piece go.
Okay.
Right? That's why I was like, it's interesting because I was like, oh. It's
That
only
is
after
interesting.
that.
That is interesting. Yep.
And yeah, so after the second day, I felt the same way I felt 10 years ago.
Okay.
No monkey mind. I was happy. I was
Yeah.
super energetic. I was happy.
And you're like, I'm back, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was craving for all these years because I stopped practicing 5 years or so or more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, spirituality, meditating. I stopped it. So I felt I was lost. I was like, who am I again? You know? But I was craving to be me again.
Yeah.
And that was the reset. So I see it as a spiritual life and death. You know, spiritual and conscious death and rebirth, whatever you can call it, right?
Yeah.
Because I did have the spiritual conscious awakening initially 10 years ago. So this is me clearing out anything I needed, unwanted. So yeah, that's when I appreciate authenticity. You know, you can't be anyone else. You know, we always hear these things. You can't be anyone else. You got to be you. But you have no choice. You have to be you. You know?
Yep.
And that's when I realized, like, even thinking back, you know, I was trying to be other people. I was trying to be like, oh yeah, I wanted to have a career. I wanted to do this. I want to do that. But that wasn't me.
Yeah. True.
You know, I was trying to dress a certain way.
Yeah.
I was like doing certain things, act a certain way. Oh, I was like, oh, I'm 25 now. I'm 20. I need to sit a certain way. I need to talk a certain way. Is there?
Yeah. No,
is there such thing? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I said before, you be you, right?
Yeah.
It's whatever you're comfortable
So
with.
it's only last year I appreciated the authenticity of me and to limit my giving of or measure how much I want to give. But also give it back to me, which is very important. You got to give that back to your love, compassion, empathy, kindness to yourself first.
Yeah.
Then to others. You see on the plane, right? You got to, on the plane, if there's an emergency, you got to look after yourself first.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's how it is. That's my realization. After 10 years going on this journey, deviating from the spiritual path to back into the norm, trying to fit in, trying to understand, even stopping the spiritual practices so I can get some sort of an idea of what is this normal thing is about. And then losing myself, coming back into it again and having a reset, yeah.
So is there any part of you that's sort of wanting to give back now? What's your mechanism of sort of giving back?
Yeah, so I created the website or social media page, Urban Monk Mindset. The name itself fits well within who I am. I'm not a monk, but I follow a monk journey.
Yeah.
You know, I don't do superficial fashion acts. You know, I don't shave my head. I don't wear the robes. You know, I don't do none of that. But at the same time, I have same mindset. I have similar mindset. I don't know what a monk mindset is. I have no idea. But all I know is I follow fundamentals of Buddhism, and that's very important to my life. And I wanted to share the tools I observed. You know, I applied all these years. You know, I'll give you one example or tool that I use. So if I'm distracted, you know, we talk about meditating. You know, when you're distracted, just focus on your breath, right?
Yeah.
So similarly, if you're distracted, your mind everywhere, whether you're traveling to work, you know, don't do this while you're driving, but if you're on the train or anything, go for a walk, just focus on the furthest, smallest object.
Furthest, smallest object. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So if it's a branch on a leaf or like grass, you know, like a flower, you know, the wild plants, whatever, just focus on the object and until you reach it, and then focus on another one further away.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Because that is also a meditation.
Right.
And you feel it. It might not be instant, it might be even take a couple of minutes, but your mind will be like, you're back to center, you're back to this, you're back to now.
That's awesome.
So that's a tool I've been applying for a long time.
I love it.
Yeah. You don't have to meditate, you don't have to close your eyes, you know?
And anyone can do it, right?
Anyone can do it, anytime. Don't do it while you're driving.
Yeah.
I do it while I'm driving because I can focus a bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a tool you can use. These are the things I established on my own. I'm not, I didn't just come up with these. I don't know it, but I've been practicing as well. Initially, I wanted to have some sort of a guidance structure and a course, etc. I even give it to people for free. I offered it for free. I did get a business consultant to have it structured for me. Obviously, I want it to be in a proper format, so people would take it seriously.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't a business for me. It's not about money. It's about how can I share this information?
Yeah.
Who can benefit from it?
So do you do consultations now? Would you in terms of people who are, I guess, all right, what I'm asking is, who's your ideal person that you can help?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's the actual answer. I don't know who the ideal person is. At the same time, I focus on several categories, whether it's love, relationships, career, focus, motivation. So if you're obviously lacking in those things or unable to focus on those things,
you can give them tools and guidance and...
Correct. Okay. It's focused around philosophy, somewhat spirituality. So I'm not just going to sit there and talk. You have to practice, perform, but you have to apply things and obviously reconcile see the results for yourself.
Yeah. Would you care if they don't have a Buddhist philosophy or background or upbringing?
I don't think it's going to do with Buddhism. It's just more of, that's my foundation. That's what I'm practicing. But it's Buddhism itself it's not a religion, as you know. And when you dive deep into it, that's when you realize it's actually not a religion. And it gives you back the power. There's no external forces that, maybe there is the universe, infinite energy, whatever you call it.
Frequencies.
Right.
And
God.
Yep.
So yes, there is that factor, but at the end of the day, it gives you back that power. Your mind creates the world.
Amazing. Okay.
Right. So yes, it's a consultation type of life coaching. I don't like the word life coaching because I don't know. It's like a what you call. It's.
You're the couple.
I'm not here to coach you about how to live your life. That's like I'm on my own journey. Let's be honest. But I'm just here to share
what you have, what you know.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. And it's a trend. Life coaching thing.
Yeah.
So he was really annoyed by me. It's a trend, right? Those are trendy words. It's not me.
Sure.
So I see myself as a Buddhist advocate and someone that practices spirituality and conscious living.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, and I created the platform where I wanted to share as much as I can about myself, who I am and, what I've learned. But at the same time, the consultation aspect's there as well. If someone wants to, anyone resonates, absolutely. But otherwise, I'll continue to share what I know.
Amazing. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd want to discuss?
I think we talked a lot of things.
There was one takeaway to anyone listening to this. Any words of wisdom? I know you've shared a lot already, but what would be your one takeaway? Like,
one takeaway is to appreciate life, to love yourself, to be honest, be authentic.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And one last question. How can people get in touch with you? What's the best mechanism?
Well, you can also, the website's there, urbanmonk.com.au, as well as the social
channels,
media channels.
Yeah,
as well.
I'll put that all in the show notes. Yep.
But yeah, look, it's. I actually agreed to talk to you not to promote a business.
Yeah, of course.
It's not about money to me. It's a desire that, as I mentioned earlier, as I said earlier, it's a desire that I had to force myself to have. So it's not something that I'm relying on.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. You know, it's not you naturally, but because you want to share, you're like, okay,
I've given it for free.
Yeah.
No one wants to take it for free.
Mm.
So, you know, I paid a decent amount of money to develop it. Obviously, there needs to be some sort of a structure. You can't just be like, hey, let me tell you what to do, you know?
Yeah.
So I paid a decent amount of money to develop it and invested time and effort into it. But I wanted to offer it for free.
Yeah.
And you know what they say about anything's free? There's no value attached.
Yeah.
Right? Or they think it's a gimmick, whatever, right? But it is what it is. I'm not forcing anyone to do anything. You know, take what you can, discard what you don't want. There's no right or wrong in anything in life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can be wrong and right at the same time. You know, with your thoughts, your actions, whatever. But yeah, as I mentioned, love life, live life to the fullest. You can't control anything other than what's within you. You know, what's your thoughts, patterns, your actions, your decisions, your thinking patterns and your actions. Those are the only things you can control.
Yeah.
And I think along the line we miss that spiritual aspect of our lives. You know, people call it. They have that word, you know, a midlife crisis, right? It's interesting, right? They put a bad twist on it. People put a bad twist. You're going through a midlife crisis. But I had that when I was 30, you know, 28, 30, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, it was a midlife crisis, you know? But what it is you're running around like a headless chook, like a dog chasing the tail. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
Right? But you're never catching that tail, and you never please, but you keep doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you come to a point you're like, why am I chasing my tail?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
That's what midlife crisis is. But at the same time, I believe that's also a spiritual conscious awakening as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Mr. Charith, Elpitiya, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. Oh, shit, man.